All right, welcome back to The Late Show. It's actually the morning, but we call it The Late Show because we talk dirty on this show like it's past 10 o'clock at night, and that's what the FCC allows us to do. Coming up is traffic and weather, but actually we have a special guest coming on the show who's showing up this weekend at Zany's comedy show. He is performing 2 different sets. Get your tickets at osbornecomedy.com. And he's showing up at Zany's with his new special that he will be filming in a few weeks, Zaddy, Don't Touch Me There. What's going on, Cameron?
Hey, it's nice to be here on the radio station. I'm sorry. I work a night job, and morning radio is...
Yeah,
it's nice
you
to be
seem
here.
Tired.
Well, yeah,
tired.
of course, this is the morning show I'm on. We started, I think I got here at the studio around 4:30 this morning. I was up until probably 2 last night doing my shows.
You got some white stuff on your nose still. Are you sure you went to bed?
I'm live at Zaddy's.
Zany's. You're live at Zany's. Your comedy special is called Zaddy, Don't Touch Me There. That's Cam Osborne. Zaddy, Don't Touch Me There. Showing up at Zany's tomorrow night. Cam, you're a funny guy. Why don't you tell us a joke?
I got a joke. So, my wife.
Well, that's the end of this segment. We'll bring you in for traffic and weather right after this new Jeff Rosenstock song. Tune in.
Continuing
Tonight on Two C's in a Pod.
96.7 on your... Two C's in a pod, 2 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 C's just like 2 C's in a pod, because we're 2 C's in a pod, just like 2 C's in a pod, 2 C's in a pod at gmail.com. We're tuning in live here on the podcast. That's right. My name is Cameron Osborne. Of course, you're listening to 2 C's in a pod, the only podcast possibly hosted by 2 people named Cameron. We're not quite sure about that. Of course, if my name's Cameron, there does have to be another Cameron on the show since there are 2 C's, and of course that is Cam LeClaire.
Yeah, that's me.
My buddy. Live my pal live on the other side of the 401, quite frankly.
I don't know.
We're not quite opposite sides of the 401. It's not like I'm all the way.
The 401 just run parallel to us?
No, well, you would have to hop on the 401 to get from where I am to where you are.
East side?
Yeah, no, west.
I'm on the west. No, because that's that's
how
not
do
you're
you
thinking.
How do you think?
I would have to go south to get to the 401 from here.
Okay.
You would have to go which way? You have to go north.
Cam, you're looking at You're looking at the specific micro lengths. I was more referring to like if Toronto is here. Mm-hmm. And then you can go north, south, east, and west. If you go west far enough, you will align with the direction of Kitchener-Waterloo.
And here's the logic I see. When you say you pick a highway and you go, you're on the other side of it, that's a line you draw in the sand. Now you can be on the east side the north side of it, or the south side because it runs east-west.
Oh, see, you were looking at the highway in a horizontal view. I was looking at the highway as a timeline, as in it's an entire horizontal plane where one destination is here and the other destination is here, and either you are traveling in one way or direction up or down that highway.
Well, that's I guess 2 ways of skinning a cat.
What do you think the city planners would say? This is what I want to know, because if I'm in Toronto...
I think I'm right in this one. I think I'm right in this one. I think you're looking at this as a broader concept than it is. I'm looking at it as, like I said, you draw a line in the sand, and which side of the line are you on? If the line cuts the map, which it does, east to west, it draws... If you just have a big old map and you grab the line, you draw it east to west, now you can be on either the left side of the map or the right side of the map. The left side being north, the west side or the right side being south. Is everyone following here?
Oh, so you're taking left and right, and you're actually kind of tipping it on its head so that left is up and right is down.
Something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just if you're pulling the map and you turn it sideways.
So then you're saying up is actually east,
East.
and down is west because
West.
because left is north and right is south.
Never eat shredded wheat.
That's interesting. I always went never eat soggy worms. Worms are. I probably wouldn't eat a worm if it was dry.
I would think it'd be better to eat it dry, personally,
because wet, I feel like I can suck it down my throat faster. It's a little more lubricated. I can kind of get it over with. Dry, I'm now chewing.
Want it alive?
I'm now chewing a worm, and
Look,
that's
crunch,
so
crunch,
tough.
crunch.
That's so tough. What I mean, because I would eat shredded wheat.
Yeah, that's just the one that we learned. I learned it from my grade 6 choir teacher.
Now, grade 6 choir. Interesting. That didn't come up in like school or something.
No, we just knew left and rights.
No, okay. And then how did the compass face come into play in choir?
Maybe I don't think it was so. Maybe she was teaching a different class. That's just the only person I remember her saying it. She was also the choir teacher. She also might have been the geography teacher.
Oh, okay,
for
yeah.
all I
So
know.
possibly you were in grade 6 geography class with the teacher who also happened to teach the choir. She told you the same set of information, and now here we are.
Yeah, here we are. Yeah, now that's ingrained in my mind. But maybe I'll switch over to soggy worms. Listeners of the pod, how do you remember your north, south, east, west? Never eat shredded wheat. Never eat soggy worms. There's probably a few more.
Probably for more. And, of course, let us know at twoceesinapod@gmail.com because, like we say every single week, we receive so many emails that it is often difficult for our production departments to condense truly like the pertinent information, things that are actually important. However, this week, our ever-expanding staff over here at Two C's in a Pod has narrowed down one that they believe we should say on the air. Because, folks, we got an email.
Dear 2ceesinapod@gmail.com. Stop plugging your email all the time. Nobody is going to write you.
That is right. Our history with emails, of course, have always just been so great. We've been able to speak to so many positive people in the community, in the world at large. Alicia Toti, Alicia Al-Gaddafi. Of course, we have Miss Sophia Lucas. This is an ever-growing list, and we got an email today from a woman, Pauline Denis. And I should say this first, folks, that this email actually came to us in French, which is crazy. I'm sure a lot of you remember.
Mademoiselle.
Exactly like that. Old slobs of the show will remember there was a Free Uncle Gigi one time where Cam and I snapped into alternate versions of ourselves and just kind of started speaking French for the entire Free Uncle Gigi. And maybe this was a listener of that show who kind of came here. So this is all translated, and I will kind of be paraphrasing in certain places because it doesn't make sense with the language. But it starts off with just hello. Great way to start. Well, bonjour. I'm gonna be saying it in English.
Bonjour.
Because I guess I will say this in English at risk of.
It's actually good day.
Yeah,
it's good day. Bonjour.
At risk of isolating our
day.
francophone listeners, I will actually be saying this email in English. And again, francophone listeners, I'm really sorry. But the email goes like this: Please excuse me for this late response, but you will understand that given my current state of health, I need to rest and recover my strength. I would like to point out that I suffer from throat cancer. That is to say, my voice box, or larynx, is affected, and due to my negligence during the treatment, the doctors confirmed that my days are now counted, or my days are now numbered. May I introduce myself? My name is Miss Pauline Denis. Being a widow without children or family, I accumulate the sadness which makes me purely very suffer additionally in ways to my pain. See, I said it was going to be a bit weird. Knowing that I feel more and more alone without having legitimate people who will succeed me, this solitude, which little by little would have gained ground, allows that sorrow devours me more. This woman is so poetic. I'm therefore ready to bequeath, that's right, to you all of my property worth 900 euros. But I would like to make good use of it. By the way, I've contacted you so that this money is paid by the state of France. France, look how we're expanding over to Europe. To be spent in a charitable donating, or to be donated in a charitable way. I will contact my legal advisor explaining in detail so he can give you instructions of how to use these funds. Would it be possible for you to tell me your family and marital status and tell me your various contact details? I count on your goodwill, and especially if you are able to receive this sum and promise me to make good use of it, I will bring you the contact my legal advisor in my next writing. I leave you on these words while hoping to hear from you very soon. Thank you, Miss Pauline Denis, of course, from not only for reaching out to the show, but the generous donation of 900 euros.
Thank you very much. Send that straight to our PayPal. And, I mean, what do we have to give to her? Contact information, SIN number as well, I think?
No, all she asked for is just tell her about our families and our marital status.
Okay.
And our contact information. I mean, she's already got the contact information, twoceesinapod@gmail.com.
Yeah, we're good there. Family status, have one. Marital status, don't have one. So that's all you need to know.
And you already know here in the show, family have one, marital status don't have one. We're very thankful.
It's just 2 tick boxes.
Well, we're very thankful for this donation. Approximately right now, 900 euros is valued at just about $1,400 Canadian, which of course adds to our ongoing charitable efforts and that we have received from all these other people. And Pauline Denis' money is going to the same place.
Yes, and all that. What are we planning on spending that money on?
Well, we're stocking it up right now.
Say 2ceesinapod.
Of course, the construction of our 27 floor corporate office that kind of took a ding out of a lot of the money that we got. Of course, we do have this production team, this Photoshop department. We do have a lot of people working night and day to make this podcast happen, which could be in part of the charitable donations.
Oh, I think maybe me and you should get a raise. Maybe we should just use that.
It's you and I agree.
Obviously, I need to learn some things and maybe go back to school, so I could use some money.
I could use some money, please.
I could use a little bit of money.
I can I just have a little bit of money.
Just a few pennies for the store guy.
Did you ever get an allowance when you were a kid?
No, I don't think so.
How much? No?
Not like a weekly thing. I think it would be like, no, what I did at one point is I used to get hockey cards.
Okay, you had a system where you benefited from doing chores.
Yeah, and then the hockey card box ran out, so that died. And then it was just kind of like, I would work with my dad every Saturday on just all kinds of projects, like going to the quarry and getting rocks to put in the pond, like shit like that. You just do like pretty big tasks, like gotta go rake the yard for a few hours. And when you'd ask like, what do you get for this? You'd be like, you get to eat. That's it. And I'm like, well, that's, I am hungry at the end of the day, so I think that's a fair deal. I didn't really get anything.
Big dad energy over there at the LeClaire household. See, I similar to your hockey cards thing, we had a setup where my mom and I had a setup where I would do chores, and then each chore was like a certain point value. You know, cleaning up dog poo was 1 point. Vacuuming the whole house was 2 points, sort of things like that. And I could redeem those points for things that I wanted. And I remember one time in particular, like it was like the most points I'd saved up to at that point was to purchase Donkey Kong 64. That was
how many points did that cost you?
Oh god, it probably like 100 points or something, you know, but it was so big, and I never asked for an allowance, although like the point system to me made a lot of sense, and it was just sort of like, and I know there was probably another video game. I bet I wanted, you know, like Pokemon cards at one point or something, but that was always until I was kind of too old for that. That was what we used to do.
It's a pretty good system.
It was
Here's
not bad.
What you should have done. Unfortunately, you didn't have anything to do this with, but you could have found a way to loan your points out with a return of interest and create your own banking system of points. Therefore, you're capitalizing on having points without ever doing work.
Oh, so you're saying kind of like recruiting a sibling to do the work for you?
Well, no, not basically being like, oh, you need this, like take some of my points. It's a point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so now I no
it.
longer have these points, but every week that you have these points that I don't have, you owe me an extra point. So it's just creating a banking system that then allows you to just continue, like just how the banks, kill us all slowly.
Right.
And
so
they take all our money.
If your sibling really wants that thing that they have to buy,
yeah.
And I guess as long as you can do it without mom finding out.
Right. Yeah.
I'm sure.
Exactly.
I'm sure a parent would 100%.
Was she keeping track?
Yeah. It was. Like
so she's just like the FEC. So you just need to go through them and be like, here's the contract we stipulated. Over a week's time, he will carry these. He will use them to buy whatever he wants. Now he's in debt to me. That debt now accrues interest to me on a 0.5 point per week basis. That builds up. And she'd just be blown away by you. She'd be like, why do I need to give him points? He's made a whole system out of this. Next, you're running the neighborhood. Next, you have delivery drivers. Next, you have an office in your house. Your mom is now working for you. You've built an empire, and
I'm only 7 years old.
Yeah,
and I made this all happen, and it was a spreadsheet that was just on the fridge. And anytime I would do the chore, I would just check it. And so I guess there was an element of the honor system there too. If you did it, I'm sure if I was to leave one little kind of dog poo in the backyard, that wouldn't have been the end of the world. It's not like the point would have been rescinded because I didn't accomplish the task, but it was all there. It was all there.
Speaking of dog poo, I heard from
interesting. Let's really hop into this one.
Speaking of my neighbor yesterday, and they apparently told me that their neighbor, who lives above them, was complaining to them that they didn't clean up their dog poo in their yard, which to me just made no sense because it's not the neighbor's upstairs yard. Like, they don't have that yard at all. They're like, why aren't you cleaning up your dog poo in time? Literally none of their business.
Yeah,
and I just thought to myself, like,
that's a weird one. I guess, is it a backyard or a front yard?
No, it's the backyard. Like, the dog doesn't poo in the front yard.
Because I guess the people, and Cam, I can picture where you are. So the people that you're talking
townhouses,
exactly. So the people you're talking about, they have a back porch, right?
Yeah,
that overlooks the grassy area that is going down. I mean, unless there's the chance, the grassy knoll, of course. There's a second shooter behind the fence, making sure dogs don't shit back there.
Yes.
And what I can picture, it's not quite hot enough for that yet, but Cam, you and I are both, our families are both dog owners, both large dog owners. We know the smell of an unkept yard in the middle of the summer.
Yeah, you get
you get the stank. We know what that's like, so it can certainly be like if this was a really, really hot week and that kind of smell and they truly didn't clean it up for a while. But I don't know, a couple little turds here and there, nothing wrong with that. I do it. I don't clean it up.
What, you poop in your backyard and don't clean it up?
Why would I clean it up? I'll clean it up later.
Carrying on this point of not cleaning up your poop, I actually have a cousin who works for UPS, and this is all connected in a second. So typically when you work in like a trucking company or like you're doing deliveries, when you have to use the washroom, you go to Tim Hortons, right? Mm-hmm. Or just whatever is available. Well, now those aren't open. So now what?
That's a good point, Cam. When I worked landscaping, we would do the same thing. When you would stop to get a coffee, you would take your shit.
What about when you were out on the field?
Yeah, so there was a point where it was one summer. I worked one of the summers in university. I worked for a different company where this company would go to the subdivisions and cut all the lawns of the unsold houses. Someone needs to do it, right?
Yeah.
So we would go sometimes even as far west as Milton, and then up to Oshawa, and sort of everywhere in between. And it just so happened that summer, every morning at probably like 8:30, maybe 9 is when it had to happen. It's when it has to happen. Yeah. My body's saying like, this is 5, 4, 3. So what I used to do, the Tim Hortons stop on the way before, I couldn't go then. It wasn't my time. My body was not ready, but I could stock up on as many little napkins as I had to. Then the advantage of selling the unsold houses is that there are a lot of areas where there's no windows to be seen. Nobody's there. I mean, you would be sometimes in the subdivisions where it's a fucking ghost town, and I'm just cutting. I'm on the trimmer. I'm on like the little weed whacker doing the whole ghost town. And so
we call them.
It was incredibly easy for me to tuck in. I mean, you know, backyard's all fenced in, tuck in between a fence and the house. There's nobody who lives at these homes for 4, 5, 6 down the way. You just kind of got to do it.
So, are you finding a bush, or are you just kind of going right in the yard?
No, I'm not going right in the middle of the yard like I'm an animal. I'll go in the corner of a fence or the corner of the house, you know, between the house and the fence where they meet up.
Couldn't you go inside the house, or were they all locked?
No, they're all locked, you know, because, they're all locked. It's, because then it would become like a shanty town. People would just kind of live there forever.
I don't know. Well, I mean, you look at the, we live on like basically a construction site 'cause there's so many new houses being built. They leave those doors open. We go in them sometimes. Check out what they look like.
Really?
Yeah, why not? Fuck it. Like, let's go see how the other half lives. They don't live yet.
And they're finished, or they're still a work in progress?
They're like 80% finished.
Okay,
when they're done, I'm sure they'll lock them.
Yeah, because these homes were finished and had been finished for many, many years.
Right.
So, but again, like nobody was buying them because it's all the way out in Stouffville. And who wants to buy a $750,000 house in fucking Stouffville, Ontario?
I don't know.
Shout out to listeners in Stouffville.
Yeah, shout out to all listeners.
Shout out to all you listeners in Stouffville. Thanks for supporting the show.
Yeah, all our 150,000 listeners. Fuck Stouffville.
Yeah, we're getting bigger. We're getting bigger. I think this is the point. We were just talking about the listeners. Cam, you just mentioned how many listeners we have. I think it's very important. Corporate wanted us to say this, and I think this is as good a time of ever. In the wake of the Joe Rogan Experience becoming a Spotify exclusive podcast, this is a great opportunity for us, Two Season Pod, to announce that we will be becoming an internet exclusive podcast. This was a really
no more snail mail.
This was a really tough decision. We know that there's so many people who subscribe to our newsletter. There's so many people who are always writing into the P.O. box, and the mindset be over at corporate just decided that it's not feasible for us anymore. We will only be available on the internet.
Now, there is stipulations to that as well.
Of course, Cam,
it's not just the internet we're going to be on.
So, Cam, there's 4 stipulations. Can you list them all off?
The 4 stipulations are that there is only 3 browsers that we will be on. 1, Google. 2, DuckDuckGo, obviously,
of course,
shows will show up 15 seconds before any other browser. Mm-hmm. And 3, Firefox. If you are using Internet Explorer, you might as well go kill yourself. Like, we don't need you listening anyway. So those are 3 of the stipulations. I don't know why they broke it up like that in a legal contract.
Yeah, well, I don't know why one stipulation involved 3 stipulations. Because, Cam, that was just the first stipulation. There's actually still 3 more. Can you just read them off for a minute?
Yeah, let me just go through my notes here. Do you have to have them as well? Bill sends me a lot of emails.
Well, that's the thing, and I think because this was so exclusive, he really didn't want even us sharing information. That's why I'm pretty sure he only sent it over to you, because I think there was a point where, some listeners of the show, Cameron Osborne talks too much, and we really don't get to know Cam LeClaire enough. I think this was actually a listener request. They said more Cam LeClaire, less Cameron Osborne.
I didn't really want to say it out loud because I don't want to hurt your feelings. But part of the stipulation is I am getting paid significantly more than you because I carry the show on my back, frankly. It's kind of embarrassing sometimes how much work I have to put in for this podcast. And the listeners, I get a lot of private emails to my email, but you don't need, they don't like you. Yeah. And we're not saying we're looking for a new host, but we're just expecting you to maybe pick your game up a little bit.
Pick the game up. And of course, that's stipulation number 2. Cam will start getting paid a lot more than I will and really start to become the focal point of the show.
Yes. Stipulation number 3 involves content and what we're not allowed to talk about.
Oh, what we're not allowed to content. Now, this list broke off into many subpoints. Would you just like to read off a couple of those subpoints? I know we really don't have time to get into all of them.
Main point is that we literally can't.
We literally can't content. This became tough for us, of course, because we are available on all the podcast apps. Apple Music. We are still on Spotify, Google Play, YouTube, of course, but like that's going to be it. If we can't post on one of those sites, it's not an authentic Two Season a Pod production.
Yeah, and that's some of the major stipulations. The minor one in there is that Cam gets to choose one in every 4 movies we watch.
Cam gets to choose one in every 4 movies. Interesting. Of course, Cam LeClaire will choose 1 in 4. Cameron Osborne will choose 3 of 4. I think that's super fair. I
think so. I don't really like movies that much, so I'd let you pick
and due
them.
to the salary, it's similar to a
$6.8 million versus $20 an hour.
Exactly, versus 75% of that. It's kind of like we are flipping around the percentages there. So yeah, we just wanted to get that exclusive news out on there for you. So folks, we really can't wait for next year.
What do you think's gonna happen? What's your thoughts on the Joe Rogan thing?
For
those at home didn't know, he signed an exclusive contract with Spotify worth over $100 million, where parts of the clips will be shown on YouTube, not the full thing, and that'll be the only place where you can get it ad-free if you pay for the premium model. But other than that, you will not be able to find his podcast on Podcast Addict, Apple Podcasts, pretty much anywhere that you can find
all those reliable places. If you can find it on, if you can find Two Season a Pod there, you probably can't find JRE there. You know what, Cam?
Right, except it's in Explorer.
I don't. For all of our Netscape users, be sure to reach out to Season a Pod. I have a workaround that you can run Netscape through Firefox. Just so all of you know. Cam, I don't listen to the Joe Rogan Experience at all, really. If a particular guest intrigues me, I'll probably put on like 25 minutes or something. He's just not part of my listening, so this will in no way affect me. I think it's great for Spotify's going to have to create or update some kind of video platform, which is something that they don't have yet. So that's super cool to see what can come from it. I do think it's very funny, though, because one of those type of clips that, they put on YouTube, I do remember the Black Keys shitting on Spotify on the Joe Rogan Experience because they get paid.
He shit on them before.
Exactly, because it pays the artists nothing, and it is great. It is funny to see the other side of that, once money's thrown in your face. But I guess there's so many listeners that it doesn't matter what we say. Spotify will make its $100 million back and more forever.
I think they'll easily make that money back. I think it's like the first real podcast deal that matters.
A podcast deal, short of things that operate through Stitcher Premium, and I really don't know how much money those sorts of things get. I mean, I have a Stitcher Premium account, so I pay my $10 a month, and I really don't know what other there's like
podcast networks and whatnot that we're not affiliated with because we're completely independent and we don't let the big guys, except for Bill from corporate, let us know what we can and can't talk about,
just
not including the stipulations. But I mean, like the other big ones that came out were like the podcast Call Her Daddy, that they've gotten some big argument and it's about money and bullshit like that. So like it kind of reminds you that podcasts are becoming a big enough thing where greed is getting involved and everyone's trying to make $1 off it. Leading us to our next sponsor, Next Blue Cigarettes, smoothness you can taste. Anyway, yeah. So, any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, that's a Barstool podcast, correct? So,
that's what I mean.
That's
Barstool.
The network. Oh, they're arguing with the network.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like, if a network's picking up a podcast, everyone's getting paid there, right? It used to be something that was so independent, and now it's something that's, people are competing for networks on it. Okay, I want to do it with these people. I want to pitch it to these people. So I don't know. It's interesting to see a new medium come about, and as soon as it starts to make money, you start to see the bigger companies start to make their play. It's just like I had an idea maybe 7-8 years ago that I didn't really know how to materialize it all. But my thought was, I listen to so many podcasts and I always hear ads on them, but I wonder if there's a company that helps people find ads for their podcasts that are relevant to their
listeners.
Yeah, exactly. And I had no idea how to implement that, and I didn't really have any interest in dropping everything I was doing to do that. And now there's like definitely companies out there that do that. So I don't know. It's just interesting to see a new medium arise that is just making money and finding new ways to capitalize off that.
Of course, right? Of course, yeah. It's new, it's fun, it's sexy. So why not spend a lot of money on it?
It feels independent too, right?
I mean, I'm super curious. I mean, Cam, maybe you can guide me in this direction. Cam, you and I are two people who listen to a fair amount of podcasts. We have for years. Have you ever used a promo code or purchased anything that you've heard an ad in a podcast?
That's a good question. I don't think I've ever used a promo code, but I've definitely bought in things which I've learned about through podcasts.
No, through the ads in the podcast, not just somebody saying like I used this.
Oh no, but like definitely through the ads, like Dollar Shave Club, for example. I'm a Dollar Shave Club user.
Use Dollar Shave Club. Okay.
Dollar Shave Club. Not a sponsor of the podcast.
Use Blue Chew. Use Blue Chew also.
Blue Chew, get your dick had.
Yeah. Cam, tell us all about your experience with Blue Chew, because I know you were skeptical because you were using these other 7-Eleven style pills that were just called Extendo. And
Extendo Rhino Dick.
Yes, Extendo Rhino Dick. And now you've moved over to Blue Chew. And tell us, what's it like?
I think overall good experience. Don't like how it leaves your mouth blue.
Interesting. They didn't bring that up in the ad copy.
I mean, I still got a rack had cack from last night, so if you want to check it out, Stitcher Premium, check it out.
Of course. Well, we should have mentioned, our podcast is, of course, going to Stitcher Premium, and if you pay that, if you use promo code 2ceesinapod, you will receive just photo copies of Cam's blue chewed penis.
Have you ever bought anything from a podcast ad?
Never, short of my Stitcher Premium account, but I think that's because, well, it's funny, like, Stitcher Premium...
But have you, like, learned about something on a podcast ad, then maybe purchase that later on?
Learn about it in the advertisement for the podcast?
For sure.
No.
Yeah. You've never learned about anything that you were curious about or, like, made you look more into?
Well, again, and here we go, right? Like, so there was a point where, you would learn about stamps.com. I know, what's the website creator?
Foursquare?
No, not Foursquare. Close, though. Squarespace.
Squarespace, yeah.
Squarespace is like, I know about Squarespace. If I were to think, like,
I guess brand awareness.
I need a website, I would probably go to someplace.
ZipRecruiter.
ZipRecruiter, that's another one. But Cam, if you have Stitcher Premium, they set it up so they take out the ads. Because you're paying $10 a month, so why the fuck would you want to listen to ads? So I haven't heard an ad on a podcast that I've listened to in a long, long, long time. Because I just listen to them all through the app.
What about the ones that are like integrated in the podcast?
Well, those ones kind of depend sometimes. There are a lot of Earwolf shows that'll say like, we're taking a break, and then then the ad's in it. But there's some ad copies reads that
are just like they weave it right into
if the podcast has to have a deal, I believe, with Stitcher to cut, because it's like, they need to cut it out. There's shows I've listened to where it's just
sorry, just drinking out of my Nalgene bottle here.
Of course, we're drinking out of Nalgene here on the podcast.
But I know exactly what you mean. It's just it's just very smooth to taste, and I don't taste any plastic at all. But there's definitely some podcasts that do that. Oh, that doo-doo. Nice bottle.
Is this BPA free? I mean, I didn't know I didn't want BPAs.
I heard you can run over these with a truck and they won't break.
Now here, Cam, one thing they don't tell you about the Nalgene bottle, of course they tell you the lid's not going to break. They tell you the bottle's not going to break. They don't tell you the strap that connects the lid to the bottle.
You've gone over this before.
Because it was a huge deal. I bought a fucking $40 water bottle. I don't think it's going to break, and then it breaks fucking 3 months into it.
These things are $40?
These things are not cheap. Well, maybe they're all $40.
Okay, Cam, maybe they're not $40, but maybe we can give them a promo code that will maybe make them a little bit less.
Use promo code
2ceesinapod at gmail.com.
That's the full promo code.
Nalgene.
That's the full promo code, 2ceesinapod at gmail.com.
Oh, this is just all sponsored content.
This is all sponsored content.
Yeah, I don't even know how they're going to play this on Stitcher Premium.
They can't, because we're just so effortlessly weaving sponsors in and out of the show. Cam, the sponsor game isn't everything that we have to talk about, because we had a great show last week. Of course, the Con Air review. It was fantastic. In my personal time, I went back to watch Face Off, the movie Nicolas Cage film directly after Con Air. So nice. I've just had to me one hell of a week. However, there was a couple things that we do need to go over, because we got some notes.
We got some notes. We got some notes. We got some notes.
Salt
Notes
Lake.
are brought to you.
Okay, who are the notes brought to you by?
Marlboro, which is a competing sponsor on the podcast, a little bit more rough for the man with the chest hair.
Of course, if you want hair on your chest, Marlboro Golds. It's like a Next Blue, but with a little cowboy on the front. Cam, Salt Lake City.
Utah.
Salt Lake City, Utah, of course, as we found out, Utah just made bigamy not a felony anymore. We couldn't quite pin down what the motto of the city of Salt Lake City is. Salt Lake City is known as the Crossroads of the West.
Wow, what a shitty name.
What a shitty
garbage name. Terrible.
Toronto, and that which brought us wondering, Toronto is the city of what? We thought it might have been the city of dreams.
Friendship.
Turns out it's not. It's also not the city of friendship, not the city of brotherly love. All it is. The city. Toronto isn't the city of something. However, Toronto, our motto is diversity is our strength.
Wow.
Wow,
cool.
You thought it would be way cooler than that.
Kitchener-Waterloos, breaking hearts, crushing darts.
That's it. No, it's on the sign when you drive in. I've seen it. It says welcome to Kitchener-Waterloo, breaking hearts, hacking darts. And finally, there was a lot of chatter, of course, and I can only imagine that this is going to keep coming up week after week after week after week. What is a Jacob's Ladder situation?
What is a Jacob's Ladder situation? As we are in one now.
As we are possibly wondering, of course, a lot of people were asking, and it's actually pretty simple. It's this movie from like the late 70s, early 80s, starring Tim Robbins. Tim Robbins dies at the beginning of the movie, and you don't know he's dead until
we don't know that.
Well, okay, Cam, I got to get through this. Cam, I got to get through this. Tim Robbins dies at the very beginning of the movie, and then at the very end, similar to a Bruce Willis in a Sixth Sense type situation, finds out he's dead.
Spoiler, bro. I haven't seen that movie.
Yeah, I know. I think we're past that point of spoilers. By the way, I think we got 10 years. 10 years on a spoiler, and then it's your fault for not.
Fine, whatever.
It's your fault.
I see dead people.
Exactly. Cam sees dead people. It's a little bit weird. When Tim Robbins dies at the end, we find out that the whole movie was just something happening in his imagination or like in this purgatory state. Then asking himself, so in any type of thing where a main character goes through an accident in the very beginning, you gotta wonder if it is a Jacob's Ladder situation where that character actually died at the very beginning and everything else that happened that afterwards didn't actually happen. It was happening in the person's mind.
So like Lost season 4.
So just like Lost season 4, right? I mean, so much of Lost too, because none of it actually happened. It happened in that in purgatory, which is an arbitrary term that may not exist. So there's no island in which all of these things occurred on. So I guess you could say Lost is a Jacob's Ladder type situation.
Right.
Because they died at the beginning. We're crushing through some spoilers here, Cam. I just want to say, like I said this before, I think we need to put like a 10-year statute of limitations on spoilers. Because then it gets to be the point of like, now you're just not talking about stuff.
I think maybe a little bit less than 10 years.
Less than 10 years?
Yeah, maybe like 10 months.
No, it has to be a bit longer than 10 months. But certainly there's also an age where you hit where like, if you're in your mid to late 20s and you don't know that Luke Skywalker is Darth Vader's son,
get out of town.
You kind of fucked that one up. I mean, I think it's hard for you to get through this many years without knowing. Bruce Willis has been dead the whole time.
A few Darth things Vader I know is that I don't know anything about the Game of Thrones, but I know the Red Wedding. Everyone dies.
Everyone dies.
And I think Jon Snow becomes a ghost or something.
Because Cam, you've had the time. You've had the time to watch Game of Thrones, and you've just chosen not to.
Yeah,
exactly. You have no interest. So
now I can't. Already been spoiled for me.
Already spoiled. We can. But again, it hasn't been 10 years, so maybe we should curb that one down a little bit.
I was thinking about this today. You know how the Jordan documentary dropped? I haven't watched the last 2 episodes of it, and my favorite part is can't be any spoilers. Know exactly what happens. He's definitely going to win.
We have not watched the last 2 episodes either. Well, it's funny. I guess you could kind of spoil it. We were watching the other day, my roommate and I, and it was the episode where you find out about Michael Jordan's, like, how his dad died. and his father was killed.
See, I think that would be a spoiler. That was
that was extremely surprising to Matt, and I knew that. Of course, I've read Michael Jordan's Wikipedia page 40 times, and
wow, why don't you read a book?
Because I just read Wikipedia pages, and it was one of those things too, or it was earlier on when the Bulls get Dennis Rodman. My roommate says, "Oh, they just got," and then he wins 2 Defensive Players of the Year, and I was like, "Oh shit, no, he won those like 7 or 8 years before he even joined Michael Jordan." And then my roommate was gonna be like, "No, he didn't," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did." 89, 90, of course, were Dennis Rodman's Defensive Player of the Year. Yeah, it's like, so you can kind of spoil it, you can kind of not. So
yeah, I mean, I feel like those are details that. They can, but they're not the him dying is the biggest thing you could really spoil in it. Or if he had like a career-ending injury or something like that, where you just don't know the story well. But other than that, you know the general plot line of it.
That is a good question, though.
Sorry, what was that?
I was going to say that's a good question. That can you spoil something if it really happened? Or is, again...
I mean, yes, I would say so. Like, I read books about history, or like, from like 1940s, or like 1912, and I'm like, fuck if I know what happened. I have no idea. That's why I'm reading the book about it.
Right, because as a kid, you were just really into the Kennedy family, JFK. You were a huge fan of his rise to fame and his presidency, and your parents really didn't want to spoil it for you.
Yeah, just that'd be soul crushing.
Yeah, and what was terrible because it happened right after you got into Nirvana.
Imagine that you start reading a book about JFK, and you're the kind of guy who opens a book without reading anything about it, and he's like, "This guy seems awesome,
this guy's sick."
And then you're like, your girlfriend just sees you on the couch with your hand over your mouth, like, "Oh my god!" And there's like, "What?" You're like, "Did you know that a president got assassinated?" They're like, "You didn't?" You're like, "I'm tearing up right now. Like, this is a lot to deal with."
Well, meanwhile, your partner's there and say, you're asking her, "Did you know a president got assassinated?" And then her response, of course, was, "Which one?"
And you're like,
"Wait, there was a second?
What are you talking about?" You're like, "No more spoilers. I'm reading every biography of every president ever, and I'm gonna figure this one out."
Yeah, we haven't even gotten to assassination attempts. Cam, you reading that history of American presidents, I've never seen you more emotional.
Yeah, I'm feeling a little bit touched right now, actually, from it.
A little touched right now. No, I can see it. I can see it in your eyes. They're starting to welt up a little bit.
Do you understand what Obamagate is?
Yes.
I don't.
Okay, I don't.
Is it important or not really?
No, I think isn't it just about because the whole passport situation?
Is it still about that? It feels like it's outdated.
Probably a lot of crap.
I don't know.
A lot of shit's outdated.
This is not a political podcast.
It's certainly not.
Strictly sports, weather, traffic, podcast conversations,
movies,
and
legal advice. Legal advice, of course.
Legal advice, as well as sponsored content.
Still haven't heard any feedback of listeners looking for legal advice. Of course, Cam and I will litigate, which is a word for sure, your case here live on the podcast, twoceesinapod@gmail.com. Just be sure to put legal in all caps in the subject heading so we know we know how to decipher it properly.
Yeah. Hey, is there a reason you're not wearing a shirt?
Folks at home, I've been wearing a shirt this whole time. I bet you didn't know it. I bet you were thinking to yourself, hey, that Cameron Osborne...
I bet these two guys have shirts on.
I bet these two guys both have shirts on. And
and then you probably thought that we both had pants on.
You're thinking we both have pants on. Boom, I got shorts. Cam, no, I have no shirt. It's a beautiful day here in the city of downtown Toronto. I was just exercising a little bit before. Of course, the shirt's off. Gym pump, which always feels great.
Oh yeah, if you're working out at home, your shirt better be off.
And I'm home alone, so I thought to myself, everyone loves walking around with less clothes on when nobody's home.
It's kind of cold. Well, in the house because we don't get the crazy amount of sunlight. It's a little bit chilly. So, but when I'm getting juice, when I'm getting my kettlebell workout, with the extreme kettlebell workout from Keith Weber, sponsor of the show, not a sponsor of the show, unofficial, official. Yeah, shirts are definitely off, tarps off, guns out, sun's out.
The sun is out. It's supposed to get beautiful this weekend. Mid-20s. We're hoping the Ontario government has opened up tennis courts, but the city of Toronto's government has not yet. So we're really hoping that in the next kind of week, those two sides can agree, and I can start playing some tennis again because I miss it.
The basketball courts are still closed in Waterloo, but as we've mentioned on the pod, I'm a sneaky bastard, and I know the one that I can run away if an officer comes.
Also, I think I feel also the time that you would be going, Cam, would probably be in the 4 to 5 a.m. range when no bylaw officer is walking around.
That would be nice, but I gotta work at that time.
So of course, you gotta start working.
I've chosen the hours. They told us we have a certain amount of hours we have to work in a day, so I've chosen the 4 o'clock until 11 o'clock shift, just so that no one will ever bother me.
No one will ever bother you. You know, right when people get there, having their morning coffee, you're on the way out.
Yeah, I'm sweating through my armpits, screaming at my console, saying "Die, die, die." To the customers. To the customers,
of course. And Cam, you work in the medical field, which is particularly interesting because, if anything, I think you need them to live to actually turn a profit.
That's not how business works, baby.
That's not how business works, eh?
No, you got to keep them rolling, just like the restaurant business. Keep those chairs a-turning.
Right, so we need new people to die.
Hey, buddy, how much do you think it costs for a hospital bed to sit in one for every day? You need
$40 at least.
Oh, now if they stay there for 2 days, get them out of there.
$80.
Die.
die.
No, it's like $1,400 a day for a patient to stay in a hospital bed.
Now, is that the electricity cost? Because I always feel like those hospitals are so bright. They can turn down the lighting.
You need a lot of staff there. You need drugs there.
That's a good point.
How much it actually think about what that bed could be used for otherwise.
Jumping around, building a fort. You could. It could serve
lifting it up and down,
testing the motor. Mm-hmm. So you're right. There are a lot of other things you could use a hospital bed for.
Zachary Mackery,
Cam. We're moving on here with the show because we're running out of time here.
We're running out of time, and I have a business meeting to go
Cam
to.
Cam has a shirt off.
Negotiating my salary.
And he's got a business meeting coming up, but we're going to keep the show moving. We're going to play our final game, the game we always end the show with. We are going to play Headline or Asinine.
Hey. Headline or Asinine. Headline or asinine.
Cam, we all know how it's played. The folks at home know how the game is played. Cam and I are going to give each other 3 headlines back and forth. Some of them are real, some of them are fake. And we're just along for the ride. So, Cam, how about you kick it off this week?
Headline or asinine, UPS driver pepper sprayed for coming too close to door.
Nobody wants someone coming up to their house, right? Privacy is very important, like those doorbell cameras, things auto alerting your phone that something, that the video started recording. So that can be scary. I like to think that it's like an auto pepper spray. It's like right under the front door camera is they press like the alarm and then it's a little, like it's almost kind of like a Home Alone thing. Like it pepper sprays them after they press the button.
They put it in the door and then they find out it's hot chili peppers in the glass or something like that.
Exactly, right? And then I think it can be kind of fun.
Classic. We should be writers.
Home Alone 4. No one's done it. We're rebooting the franchise with Macaulay Culkin.
The franchise.
Macaulay
I'm going to be
playing
the little guy.
In the same role. Macaulay Culkin's playing the same role. And his family goes on vacation.
Except he's just getting burglarized.
Yes, with competent burglars also. So
or
they'll
maybe
probably
maybe it's Home Alone, but his girlfriend left him.
Oh, so it's more
him moping around for 5 days.
Fantastic cinema, Cam. You can start writing that one. I think that this one is a headline.
I made it up. It's a lie. It's asinine. It's in Ohio. It's in Ohio.
No,
Sponsored by this show is sponsored by Neil Young's hit album Gold Rush from a long time ago. Check it out in stores.
If there's one thing the listeners of this show come to the show for is the specificity of our tangents, Cam. Gold Rush came out in sometime a long time ago. Cam, I have a headline for you, or I have an asinine for you. Here we go, number 1. Bachelorette star apologizes for using the N-word on Instagram Live.
Ooh. What was the first word you cut out for a second there?
Bachelorette star apologizes.
Okay, I got it all done.
Okay.
Bachelorette star apologizes for using the neighbor word on Instagram Live. Now, Bachelorette star, I don't know which one it was. My question is it one of those situations where it was a white Bachelorette star or a black Bachelorette star? Because the line varies. Who can say the word? It's a timeless argument that we're not having today.
Cam, you are certainly more of a Bachelorette knowledgeable than I am. Have there ever been any non-white Bachelorettes? That sort of seems like the show's MO, is that it's white people.
They normally get voted off in the second or third episode, but
okay, no, this is Bachelorette, right? So it's all she's the star, and then the single men are coming on the show. Bachelor is one man with a bunch of women.
Yeah, but you can have but I get that, but wouldn't it be?
So if the Bachelorette never gets voted off, the Bachelorette, because she is the Bachelorette. Star. That's correct.
So it's probably a white woman.
Folks at home, let us know. It's a show for white people. Are they all white? Let us know. We're dying to know.
We're dying to know. This is brought to you by Bachelorette, starting NBC next week. I'm going to say yeah, because they are probably singing a song like that Kendrick Lamar song. Fuck who you know, where you from, my neighbor. But the different version of that, which we don't condone here on Two C's in a Pod.
We certainly do not condone it. We don't condone this headline. We certainly don't. Hannah Brown, who is the season 15 star of The Bachelorette, apologized a few days ago for using the N-word while attempting to rap the lyrics of DaBaby's Rockstar on her Instagram Live.
I knew it. I got it right.
Of course, she was just flowing right through the lyrics. I think her white privilege kind of probably got in there for the middle and really took over. We've all seen it. We've all seen white women singing along to songs, and we know how much they can get distracted with the lyrics themselves because they love it. And I guess in this song there was a couple N-words, and she popped them off. Other people in the Bachelorette world have been pissed off about it, including just various contestants on various seasons of The Bachelor also kind of chimed in. People are defending Hannah Brown, the current Bachelorette, for making a mistake. And then
what did she make a mistake about?
She said the N-word on Instagram.
Oh, it's
Live.
that one. Oh, okay. I didn't know it was that one. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. You got the names confused. I don't know any of these names, anyways. But people are defending her. Obviously fans of the show, probably white people. Let us know. Are you defending her? twoceesinapod@gmail.com. Did she make a mistake, or is she horrible? Let us know. We're dying to hear what you have to say.
In Ohio. Pregnancy rate nearly doubles in China.
Oh my God, that's fucking terrifying. That is fucking terrifying. There's 1.6 billion people living in China, and the pregnancy rate just doubled. Isn't it weird that I think about this all the time when whenever people talk about soulmates and sort of the one, you found the one and all those sorts of things. I can't help but find, statistically speaking, Your one is in India or China. I'm pretty sure both of them have over 1 billion people living there. There's probably just over 7 billion. that means what, 1 in 3.5 people live in India or China. Chances are that's where you're going to find them. Imagine that population.
The stats aren't in your favor. Put it that
Stats
way.
are not in your favor for you to find somebody, who lived around the block. Of course, that's not to say it can't happen. I'm a fan of love. I love love, if you know that about me, Cam. This is scary. You should go to a website. It's something like worldpopulationcounter.com. And it just does this like live track of how many people there are. And it's really funny because you can go to certain countries with super high, birth rates, countries like India, China, Mexico, and you just see the fucking numbers keep rolling up. And in the back of your mind, you're thinking to yourself, wow, we're fucked. Human beings are fucked. They've been on lockdown for a long time, though. That's 3 months of pegging nonstop. And even
bumping stumps.
And even if you're the pullout king, I mean, the odds can't be in your favor if you just keep smashing that ass. Or maybe that's the problem. They're not smashing that ass enough. Cam, I'm going to say
they're smashing gas.
I'm going to say that's a headline.
That's a lie. I made it up again. I'm a big old liar. I'm a big old phony.
You made up 2, which can only mean the third one's going to be right. Cam, does China still have that whole one kid and it has to be a boy rule?
I didn't do any research.
You never do. You never do any research into any of these things. I think that's why people.
I made it up. It's a lie. I'm not going to do research on things that I lied about because that's not lying. That's telling the truth about research.
I think that's why people come to the Two Season Pod podcast. They like to hear wild.
Fine. You know what? I'll fucking Google it. I will Google it right now.
We know you're not allowed on Google because we know it's going to distract you from the rest of the show.
God damn it. No, we're going to write a goddamn provision in here that says I'm allowed to go on Google one time per episode to answer one of your dumb questions.
No, Cam, this is what the notes section is for next week. You work on it between shows, and next week, if we get some notes, people from corporate or people who listen to the show, if anybody comes to us with some notes, we do have a platform to present that, of course, on next week's show. Cam, I got another one for you here, though. So, headliner asinine, diners at this restaurant in Virginia can eat surrounded by dressed up mannequins.
Ugh. I know the Korean baseball league is putting mannequins in the stands.
Of course, that was a headline of ours last week. Folks at home, you should fucking watch it. It's funny as hell.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. So, do I think it's a reality? Or my question is, do you pay extra for it? Now, who wants to sit in a dining room alone? Not many people. Who wants to sit with a bunch of fake people? I'm going to say almost nobody. Sitting around by yourself is much better than personally having a ton of different fake bodies around you because you feel like you're in a goddamn episode of Stranger Things, or maybe not Stranger Things, Black Mirror.
Mirror.
I'm going to call Yasinine on this one.
Cam, that's a headline here for you. This is a headline coming out of Virginia where a 3-star Michelin-rated restaurant is opening back up. Of course, I believe 3 Michelin stars is like the most amount you can get.
I think you can get 5, can't you?
I'm not entirely sure.
Is this another next week? We'll figure this out.
Well, let me get through what I have to say first, Cam. This is happening at the Inn in Little Washington, which is about an hour and a half west of Washington, D.C., where the restaurant is reopening with dressed up mannequins sitting at all the tables around people so you can maintain your distance away from other patrons while not feeling like the entire restaurant is occupied. So they're going to fill the restaurant about 50% real people, 50% fake people. And there's some photos online. You can check it out. The Inn at Little Washington. It's just a bunch of people dressed. It's literally a bunch of mannequins dressed up in clothes that you would find at the mall. If the restaurant comes with this 1940s style, so all the mannequins are dressed in a similar 1940s style. And for our listeners in the States, if you want to check this out, you can book. You can book yourself here. However, just one person's meal is probably going to cost you around $250. So it's an expensive date night. But hey, 3-star Michelin, baby.
Now, my suggestion for them is to have a little tape recorder on every table that it sounds like this conversation, but just a loop of like every 15 to 20 seconds say, and I say, that's not my daughter, that's my wife. And then there's a laugh track behind it. And
just like a chorus of laughter.
Yeah.
That's a
good
point.
And just like have that at every table, like every 15 to 20 seconds.
In the
like, wow, this...
in the business, they call that walla. Walla is the noise. If you're ever watching a movie where they're at a bar, restaurant, party, obviously the noise in the background isn't actually happening because it would interfere with the audio of the main characters. So they insert walla tracks, which is just kind of that crowd noise to make you feel more comfortable.
Right, and the great jokes. So we can be the joke writers for them.
Of course, yeah. That's what my wife said. Things like that's what my ex-wife said. Things like, and then I told my wife. Maybe we'll throw in a "To the Moon, Alice" or a "Why I Oughta." All this sort of very funny 1940s
topical,
things.
Yeah,
very topical to this 1940s restaurant, of course. The Inn at Little Washington. Reach out to us, twoceesinapod@gmail.com. We want to work for you.
Headline or asinine: Ron Jeremy fighting to save tree outside his childhood home.
Haven't heard a story about Ron Jeremy in a long time, which is great. I've never seen a porno movie like you would buy the DVD and it has a plot. And, I've heard of them. I've heard of that movie Pirates, that like Pirates of the Caribbean themed porn, which like it cost $1 million to make. I'm aware it exists. I've just never seen a porn with plot, characters, tertiary involvement, all surrounding the fucking. So me and Ron Jeremy don't really go back, but I can understand what it's like to want to save a tree. Of course, as a young boy, I read The Giving Tree just like everybody else. It's everybody's favorite.
I just read the JFK book.
You just read the JFK book. We had very different upbringings. Of course, Shel Silverstein was very important to my mother, and John F. Kennedy was very important to your parents.
I don't know the name you just mentioned, but sure.
Shel Silverstein. They wrote The Giving Tree, which is the exact plot of this Ron Jeremy fact, where he falls in love with the tree and he wants to save it because he had so many good memories about that tree. And Ron Jeremy, this tree's got to be pretty big. His dong's got to be pretty big. Maybe he just connects with it. That's a headline.
That's a headline, and it is in the Bronx in New York, where his father planted that tree the day he was born, and he helped it grow. So it's actually a pretty heartwarming story. I mean, it just has Ron Jeremy's name attached to it. He's reaching out to his Twitter followers to help save the tree. The city says that half of its canopy is missing and it needs to die, and they keep screaming at him, die, die, die. So it's a conflict of interest. Some call it a Jacob's Ladder. Some don't call it that. I personally am a little bit on the line.
Line. Of course, this is a great example of celebrities using their influence. I mean, do I want to save Ron Jeremy's tree that his father planted when he was a child? Fuck yes. Yeah. Do I want to save some poor motherfucker's tree that their poor ass father planted on their poor ass property, surrounded by their shitty, drug addicted, alcoholic family? Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy right to hell. Ron Jeremy's dick for the win. Cam, I have one more here for you. Headline or asinine? One sec, my page scrolled up. There we go. Headline or asinine? Men with watermelons on their heads arrested after stealing from a convenience store.
Ooh, that's a great mask. You shave out the mask. What are they going to say? Oh, it was a watermelon on his head. And then that's when the investigators come in. They go, which country is watermelon in season? And then you get the research associates go do that. And then someone pats you on the back and goes, genius! I would have never thought of that. Were the stripes going horizontally or vertically? Those were seedless watermelons, chief. Well, no man with seedless watermelons could ever not leave a trail. You go down that line, CSI Miami.
And that's when the big wow! And the guy takes off his sunglasses dramatically. Yeah. So
that's the... Yeah. Love it. So yeah, we're already. This is basically a crime show. Now the question is, was this based on true events, and are the names being withheld to protect the innocent or the guilty? Headline.
Bum bum. It's a headline, Cam. You are damn right. A couple of men in their early 20s, melon heads, if you ask me, pulled up to a convenience store in a small Virginia town, driving their 2006 black Toyota Tacoma, and entered the Sheetz store in Louisa, Virginia, wearing carved out watermelons with holes cut out for the eyes. It is something that's really funny. There's no holes carved out for their mouths either. So I can only imagine whatever the stick up was, they really couldn't hear what the hell was happening. This couple was arrested, of course. They were found later. Somehow, it doesn't really go into how they were actually found, but they were a couple weeks after that. And they were. I would
really wish they had some really good puns in there too.
Well, I made the melon heads pun, and then,
but I mean, like if a guy pulls a gun and he goes, "What are you doing?
What are you doing?" Anyways, these guys were arrested and charged with wearing a mask in public while committing larceny, underage possession of alcohol, and petite larceny of alcohol.
Orange, you glad we wore masks?
Orange, you glad we melon to see ya?
Love it. We are joke writers.
We are joke writers, and that's all the time we have for this week's Two Season a Pod podcast. Remember to rate, review, like, and subscribe to the show because we're everywhere on the internet. Remember,
tell your friends.
We're never leaving the internet. We're never going to leave the internet to go to one network exclusively. We do have to shut off the P.O. box and the newsletter that we've been writing. Of course, the liberal rag that we've also been our kind of that propaganda section of Two Season a Pod. We also have to put we also have to cut off, but that's okay because you can still find the show everywhere else.
And never forget, if you hold the number 2 on your microwave, it will stop beeping when you press buttons on it.
There's no way we can end the show better than that, folks. Have a great day.
Continuing
tonight on Two Season a Pod.
96.7 on your... Two season a pod, 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 two season just like two season a pod, because we're two season a pod, just like two season a pod, two season a pod at gmail.com.